The morning air still carried the smell of rain when you first saw her, standing at the edge of the gravel path, with her hand resting on a crutch, looking at the empty space beside you on the bench, like it was the only seat left in the whole world. You had been coming to this same bench for 11 months. Every single day, rain or shine, you walked the 6 blocks from your small house on Alder Street to Miller's Park, carrying a paper bag of stale bread for the pigeons, and a thermos of coffee that had long since gone cold by the time you finished it. You told yourself it was for the pigeons, but really, it was because the house had gotten too quiet since Rutherford passed, and quiet has a way of pressing down on a person until they can't breathe right anymore. You didn't expect anyone to sit beside you. Not really. People walked past all the time, joggers with their earbuds in, young mothers pushing strollers, teenagers laughing at something on their phones. Nobody ever stopped. Nobody ever looked at the old woman on the bench feeding pigeons like she was anything more than part of the scenery, like the oak tree or the drinking fountain that hadn't worked properly since summer. So when the girl's voice broke through the morning quiet, soft and a little unsure, you almost didn't realize she was talking to you. "Can I sit with you?" You looked up, and there she was, maybe 11 years old, with hair the color of wheat pulled into 2 uneven braids, wearing a jacket 2 sizes too big for her thin shoulders. And then you saw it, the empty space where her right leg should have been, the fabric of her pants, pinned up neatly below the knee, the metal crutch tucked under her arm like it had become a permanent part of her. Something in your chest tightened. Not pity, exactly. Something closer to recognition, though. You couldn't have said why in that moment. "Of course, sweetheart," you said, and you scooted over on the bench even though there was already plenty of room. "Sit wherever you like." She lowered herself down carefully, the crutch clattering against the wood as she set it beside her. "Feet, foot," you corrected yourself gently in your mind. "Foot, singular." For a while, neither of you said anything. The pigeons scattered and regathered around your feet, pecking at crumbs. A jogger passed with his dog. The girl watched the birds with an intensity that seemed almost too serious for someone her age. "They're not scared of you," she said finally. "No," you agreed. "I suppose they know I mean them no harm." "Most things don't know that about people," she said. "Most things are scared for good reason." You turned to look at her properly then, this small girl with old eyes, and you felt that tightening in your chest again. "What's your name, honey?" "Marigold," she said. "Marigold Pruitt. My mama named me after the flowers because she said, marigolds grow even when nobody plants them on purpose. They just show up." "That's a beautiful name." "It's a weird name," Marigold said, though she didn't sound upset about it. "Kids at school call me Marigold, like I'm made of money or something. It's supposed to be an insult, I think, but I don't really mind. Gold's not a bad thing to be called." You laughed then, a real laugh, the kind you hadn't let out of your chest in longer than you wanted to admit. "No," you said. "Gold's not a bad thing to be called at all." That first conversation lasted maybe 20 minutes before Marigold said she had to get home, that her mother would worry if she was gone too long. But before she left, she turned back to you and said, "Will you be here tomorrow?" And you found yourself saying yes before you'd even decided to. You didn't tell her about Rutherford that day. You didn't tell her that the bench had become a kind of shrine, the place where the two of you used to come every Sunday afternoon for 43 years, where he proposed to you back when the oak tree was barely taller than the two of you standing together, where you'd scattered a small portion of his ashes because it felt wrong to leave him anywhere else. You didn't tell her that some mornings you sat there and talked to him like he could still hear you, telling him about the garden, about the leak in the roof, about how much you missed the sound of his laughter filling up the empty rooms of your house. You didn't tell her any of that, not yet, but something about the way she'd asked to sit beside you, so simply, so without fear of rejection, cracked something open in you that had been sealed shut for almost a year. The next day, she came back, and the day after that, it became a routine. Neither of you spoke about directly, but both of you understood. Every morning, around 9 o'clock, Marigold would appear at the edge of the gravel path, her crutch tapping against the stones. And she would ask the same question even though the answer was always yes. "Can I sit with you?" Over the following weeks, you learned her story in pieces. The way children tell things, not all at once, but scattered across many mornings, offered up when she felt ready, and never pushed for before then. She told you about the cancer first. Osteosarcoma, she said, pronouncing the word carefully like she'd practiced it many times. Like she'd had to explain it to enough people that the syllables had become familiar even though the disease itself never quite would be. It had started in her knee 2 years ago, she said. Just an ache she thought was from soccer practice. By the time the doctors found it, it had already begun eating into the bone, and there was no saving the leg. They took it above the knee, she told you. Matter of fact, in the way only children can be about the worst things that have happened to them. She told you about her mother. Next, Delphine Pruitt worked 2 jobs days at the laundromat on 5th Street, nights cleaning offices downtown, because Marigold's father had left before she was even born, and because medical bills for a child's cancer treatment didn't care whether a single mother could afford them or not. Marigold said her mother came home so tired some nights that she fell asleep in her work clothes on the couch, and Marigold would cover her with a blanket and turn off the television and sit alone in the quiet, doing her homework by the light of the kitchen lamp. She told you about the kids at school last, and this was the part that made your chest ache the most. Not because they were cruel in dramatic ways. No one pushed her down or called her terrible names to her face, but because of the smaller cruelties, the ones that accumulate like sediment until they become a kind of permanent weight. The way conversation stopped when she approached, the way no one picked her for teams in gym class, not because they said anything, but because their eyes would slide right past her like she was invisible. The way she ate lunch alone, most days at the end of a long table, watching other kids laugh together, wondering what it would feel like to be included without anyone having to be told to include her. "I used to think if I just got better at ignoring it, it wouldn't hurt anymore," Marigold told you one gray morning in October, watching a pigeon limp across the gravel with an injured foot. "But it still hurts. I just got better at not showing it." You reached over without thinking and took her small hand in your weathered one. "That's one of the bravest things I've ever heard," you told her. "But you shouldn't have to be that brave, sweetheart. Not at your age. Not about something like this." She shrugged, the particular shrug of a child who has learned to make herself smaller than her pain. "Mama says everybody's got something. She says the trick is not to let your something become the only thing people see about you." "Your mama sounds like a wise woman." "She's tired," Marigold said simply. "But yeah, she's wise too." As autumn deepened into November, you found yourself looking forward to those mornings on the bench more than you'd looked forward to anything in a long time. You started bringing 2 thermoses, instead of 1 coffee for yourself, and hot chocolate for Marigold, though you learned quickly she preferred it with extra marshmallows, which you began keeping in your coat pocket, in a small plastic bag just for her. You learned the names of her favorite books, which she read voraciously, despite everything, hiding paperbacks in her backpack and reading them under her desk when her teachers weren't looking. You learned that she wanted to be a marine biologist when she grew up, that she'd never seen the ocean in person, but had memorized facts about it from library books the way other kids memorized sports statistics. You learned that her favorite color was the specific shade of orange that appeared in the sky just before sunset, and that she'd started drawing that color in the margins of her notebooks, because it made her feel less like the girl with 1 leg, and more like a girl who noticed beautiful things. And she learned about you too, about Rutherford, finally, when you felt ready to say his name out loud to someone other than yourself, about the 43 years of marriage, the garden he used to tend every summer, the way he used to sing off-key while washing dishes, thinking no one could hear him, about the particular shape of grief, how it doesn't leave, but instead learns to sit quietly beside you, the way Marigold now sat quietly beside you on that bench every morning. "I'm sorry he died," she told you one day, with the directness only children possess, "but I'm glad I get to sit with you now. Is that a bad thing to say? No, you told her, meaning it more than you'd meant almost anything in the past year. That's not a bad thing to say at all. But as winter approached, something began to shift. Marigold started arriving at the bench with redrimmed eyes. Some mornings, quieter than usual, her usual chatter replaced with long silences that felt heavier than her words ever had. When you gently pressed, she finally told you what was wrong. Her old prosthetic leg, the one she'd been fitted with over a year ago, no longer fit properly. Children grow, even children who've lost a limb. And Marigold had grown nearly 2 inches since her last fitting. The prosthetic rubbed and chafed against her skin until sores developed. Sores that made walking already difficult nearly unbearable some days. She'd taken to using her crutch more and more, leaving the ill-fitting prosthetic at home. But the crutch made her slower, made the stairs at school more pointed, made the isolation somehow deeper. A new prosthetic, properly fitted, would cost more than her mother's insurance would cover. Thousands of dollars that Delphine simply didn't have. Not after years of medical bills that had already stretched the family well past their limits. Marigold had overheard her mother crying on the phone with the insurance company one night, trying to negotiate, trying to find some way to make the numbers work, and had gone to bed with her stomach in knots, feeling like her own body had become a burden, too heavy for the person she loved most in the world to carry. She doesn't sleep anymore, Marigold told you, her voice barely above a whisper. I hear her at night, sometimes, doing math on a piece of paper at the kitchen table. She thinks I don't know, but I know. You sat with that information for a long moment, feeling something harden into resolve inside your chest. Does your mother know you come here every morning? You asked. Marigold nodded. I told her about you. I told her you're my friend. She said, as long as I'm home before school starts, it's okay. She said everybody needs a friend. That evening, you didn't go home right away. Instead, you found yourself walking the 6 blocks in the opposite direction, toward the address Marigold had once mentioned in passing, toward a small apartment complex on the east side of town where the paint was peeling and the stairwell light flickered unreliably. Delphine Pruitt opened the door with the particular exhaustion of a woman who had learned to keep functioning long after most people would have collapsed. Her eyes widened with something like alarm when she saw you standing there, a stranger, an elderly woman she'd never met in person, despite hearing her name every day for months. I'm the woman from the bench, you said simply. Marigold's friend. Delphine's exhaustion cracked, just slightly, as something more vulnerable. She talks about you all the time, she said. I've been meaning to come. Thank you properly. It's just, she gestured vaguely, at the apartment behind her, at the life she was holding together with both hands and sheer will. There's never enough time. I understand, you said. I don't want to intrude. I just wanted you to know that your daughter is one of the most remarkable people I've ever met. And I wanted to ask if I might be able to help with the prosthetic. Delphine's composure, built carefully over 2 years of holding everything together, finally began to give way. She pressed a hand to her mouth, and you saw the tears she'd clearly been fighting for a long time finally break free. I can't ask you to do that, she said. I don't even know you. You're not asking, you told her gently. I'm offering. There's a difference. What you didn't tell Delphine that evening was that you had, in fact, more resources than your modest house on Alder Street might have suggested. Rutherford had worked as an engineer for 35 years, had been careful with money in the way people who grew up with very little often are, had left behind a life insurance policy and savings that you'd barely touched because spending money on yourself alone had felt like admitting he was really gone. You'd been sitting on those funds for almost a year, uncertain what to do with a life that suddenly had resources, but no purpose to spend them on until now. The following weeks became a flurry of phone calls, appointments with prosthetists, conversations with Marigold's medical team. You insisted on covering not just the new prosthetic, but also physical therapy sessions to help her adjust to it. sessions that Delphini's insurance hadn't been covering adequately either. You went with them to the fitting appointments when Delphini's work schedule made it impossible for her to take time off. Sitting in waiting rooms with outdated magazines, holding Marigold's hand when the technicians made their measurements and adjustments. But the road wasn't smooth. 2 weeks before the new prosthetic was scheduled to be fitted, Marigold fell during gym class, the worn straps of her old prosthetic finally giving out entirely as she tried to participate in an activity she'd been reluctant to join in the first place. She fell hard in front of the entire class, her crutch skittering away across the gymnasium floor, and for a long, terrible moment, nobody moved to help her. She told you about it the next morning on the bench, her voice flat in a way that frightened you more than tears would have. Everyone just stood there and stared, she said. Nobody laughed, which almost made it worse. Somehow, they just stared like I was something that had happened to the floor, like I wasn't even a person anymore. You felt something break and rebuild itself inside you in that moment. A fierce protectiveness you hadn't felt since your own children were small. You are the bravest, most remarkable person I know, you told her, gripping her hands tightly in yours. Do you understand me? What happened to you is not who you are. It's something that happened. But who you are is a girl who reads books under her desk and dreams about the ocean, and asks a lonely old woman if she can sit beside her, even when she doesn't have to. That's who you are, Marigold. Nobody's stares can take that away from you. She cried then, really cried. The kind of crying that had probably been building for 2 years. And you held her on that bench while the pigeons scattered around your feet and the November wind cut through both your coats, and you thought about Rutherford, about how he would have known exactly what to say, and you hoped that somewhere, somehow, he was proud of the words you'd managed to find on your own. The day of the new prosthetic fitting arrived on a Tuesday morning in early December, with the first real snow of the season dusting the ground outside the clinic. Delphini had taken the entire day off work, her first full day off in longer than she could remember, and the three of you sat together in the fitting room as the prosthetist made final adjustments to the new leg. Sleek, properly sized, designed to move with Marigold rather than against her. When she finally stood and took her first steps on it, careful and wobbling at first, then steadier, then almost running across the small room. The sound that came out of Delphini was somewhere between a laugh and a sob, a sound of 2 years of accumulated fear finally breaking apart. Look at me, Marigold said, turning back to both of you. Her face lit up with an expression you hadn't seen on her before, not brave, not careful, composed beyond her years, just pure, uncomplicated joy. Look at me go. We're looking, sweetheart, you told her, your own eyes blurring with tears. We're looking. Word spread through the small town the way it does in places where everybody still knows everybody else's business. Neighbors who'd heard about Marigold's story from Delphini, from the school, from the whispered conversations of a community that had been quietly watching a single mother struggle for years without quite knowing how to help, began showing up. Someone organized a fundraiser at the community center to help with the remaining medical costs. The school held an assembly about kindness and inclusion that Marigold's teacher told you later had actually changed the way the other students treated her, slowly, imperfectly, but genuinely. A group of children from her class started saving her a seat at lunch, not because a teacher told them to, but because one girl by the assembly had finally worked up the courage to ask Marigold if she wanted to sit together, and once one child did it, others followed. The way kindness sometimes moves through a room once someone brave enough leads the way. Spring came slowly that year, the way it always does in places with long winters, but it came, and on the first truly warm morning in April, you walked to Miller's Park as you had every day for over a year now, and you found Marigold already there, sitting on the bench, her new leg tucked casually beneath her like it had always belonged to her, watching the pigeons with the same intensity she always had. You're here early, you said, settling down beside her. I wanted to watch the sunrise with you, she said. The orange kind. My favorite kind. You sat together in comfortable silence as the sky began to lighten, streaked with the particular shade of orange that Marigold had once told. You made her feel like a girl who noticed beautiful things. "Can I ask you something?" she said, finally. "Of course. Do you think Mr. Rutherford would like me if he was still here?" You felt your throat tighten, but you smiled through it. "I think," you said slowly, "that he would have loved you very much. I think he would have said you remind him of the marigolds in our garden. The ones that grew even though nobody planted them on purpose. The ones that just showed up anyway, and made everything around them a little more beautiful." Marigold smiled at that. A real smile, guarded and bright. "I'm glad I asked to sit with you that day," she said. "I almost didn't. I saw you feeding the birds and you look so sad. And I almost thought I shouldn't bother you. I'm glad you asked too," you told her, taking her hand in yours the way you had so many mornings before. "You didn't just sit with me, sweetheart. You brought me back to life." The sun continued rising over Miller's Park, painting the sky in shades of gold and orange, and the two of you sat together on that old wooden bench, the bench where a marriage had begun, where a grief had settled, and where, against every expectation, an unlikely friendship had bloomed like something that grows even when nobody plants it on purpose, something that simply shows up when you need it most and changes everything.
Kindness does not cost anything, but it can change everything. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs a little hope today. And if you would like more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next topic.